40 satellites because of geomagnetic storm. Those CMEs. I'm telling you, the sun is... Elon, don't let the sun go down on you. You're trying to set up the Starlink satellite system, and Donald Trump is trying to... No. It's like the sun going down on you. Well, guys, I want to welcome everybody to the... Are you serious? That's right. Elon Musk loses 40 satellites after he began yesterday after the Earth was hit with a geomagnetic storm. And today, Venus is going to get hit with some powerful CMEs. And tomorrow, the Earth. Something biblical is going on, folks, with the signs of the second coming of Christ. Prophecy is jumping off the page. Guys, give me just 1 second. Let me put a shout on it. Let me catch my breath. Let me lose some more weight. What? That's with Keto. Keto. That's right. www.keto with Paul. That's www.keto with Paul by BioTrust. That's right. You see, I've tried everything to manage my weight with no success. Up, down, down, up. Nothing seems to work. I tried all the workout routines, the rowing machines, the jogging, the fasting, then the dieting and the fads. And I just tried sneezing. None of it works. I was beginning to lose hope. But a friend told me about this special Keto powder. What I've experienced after a few days of this is nothing short of a miracle. Keto with Paul. www.ketowithpaul helps burn fat, tone your muscles, unlike anything you'll ever try. More importantly, you can watch the number on the scale drop each morning. And my self-confidence has never been higher. I highly recommend it to anybody and everybody. Tell somebody looking to support their weight loss. That's www.ketowithpaul.com. That's www.ketowithpaul.com. All right, guys, here's what's going on. Elon Musk takes a hit unexpectedly, too. I mean, he really didn't see this one coming. And literally, I mean that literally. Let's go check it out. Here's what happened, okay? Elon Musk loses 40 Starlink satellites after the geomagnetic storm rattles the Earth, costing SpaceX $10 million. Now, $10 million is nothing. It's chump change for a guy like Elon Musk. But what bothers him worse is the fact that he's trying to get enough of these Starlink satellites up there to start his own internet system. And a geomagnetic storm that can come in and wipe out 40 of those, that's not good because the sun is getting more volatile all the time. This geomagnetic storm has doomed dozens of SpaceX satellites to a fiery demise by preventing them from reaching their final orbit. 40 of the 49 Starlink satellites launched by the California rocket maker last week will disintegrate as they deorbit and burn up in the Earth's atmosphere. What? Estimates suggest that each satellite cost SpaceX $250,000 apiece to build and to launch, meaning the storm could cost as much as $10 million. In an update yesterday, SpaceX, which is run by billionaire Elon Musk, explained how the storm would affect its most recent Starlink development. The Wi-Fi beaming technology. This is very interesting. The Wi-Fi beaming technology is typically deployed into lower orbits so that they can be quickly deorbited and destroyed in case something goes wrong. Now, once initial checks are complete, they push to higher orbits so that they can be quickly deorbited. They push to higher orbits where they can join a mega constellation that provides internet access to the Starlink customers. This geomagnetic storm that rattled the Earth's megasphere on February 4th raised the atmospheric drag, preventing the satellites from raising to their orbits. As a result, they will be pulled back toward Earth by its gravitational pull before turning to dust as they re-enter the atmosphere. You mean satellites go from ashes to dust too? And unfortunately, the satellites deployed Thursday were significantly impacted by this geomagnetic storm that hit Friday morning. So Elon Musk sends up his satellites on Thursday. He has no idea that God was sending a geomagnetic storm on Friday. These storms cause the atmosphere to warm and the atmospheric density at our low deployment altitudes to increase. The company added that the onboard GPS data suggested that the severity of the storm caused atmospheric drag to jump up by 50%. And the satellites were put into a safe mode that instructed them to fly edge on like a piece of paper to the storm to minimize the drag. However, this wasn't enough to save them. The increased drag at the low altitudes prevented the satellites from leaving safe mode to begin orbiting, raising maneuvers. So, 40 satellites will be re-entering the Earth and burning up in our atmosphere. SpaceX stressed that the soon-to-be dead space tech pose no collision risk to other satellites and will break up upon re-entry. No problems, okay? No problems. Now, soon, the company intends to put 12,000 satellites into Earth's orbit, possibly 42,000 in the future. Currently, they have 2,000 in orbit right now. The geomagnetic storms are triggered when the sun spews out charged particles that interact with the Earth's magnetic field. How many times have we heard Mike around the world talk about charged particles? And they can disrupt satellites and, in extreme cases, mess up the GPS systems and even shut down power grids. And now that the sun is becoming more and more ferocious, more and more volatile, because it's part of the effects of Planet X, and that's why, this is why Mike from the World told us for 8 years, 5 waves of energy. We're being hit with it, folks. It's sort of like building the Tower of Babel. Problem was, God confused their language. In this case, we're climbing into the heavens, but God is tearing us back down. And I got scripture that can confirm every bit of that, and I'll share that with you during our live broadcast at 12 noon Eastern. It raises a lot of questions. Astronomer and author Dr. John Bartine wrote on Twitter, "Did SpaceX knowingly launch into such conditions?" Now, astronomers have queried why SpaceX went ahead last week's launch from the Kennedy Space Center given the impending storm. He questioned whether SpaceX was ready for a rise in the rate of geomagnetic storms as the sun enters a solar maximum, the point in the solar cycle when it's most active over the next few years. Evidently, they can't cope with a very sudden increase in the drag, said Dr. Barentine. But they do have little krypton-fueled Eon engines on them, and they use for orbit raising. What's not clear is whether they have enough fuel to keep them on station as we head toward solar maximum. Dr. Jonathan McDowell, an astronomer at Harvard's Center for Astrophysics, also expressed concern, tweeting, "All the different indications seem to indicate this was a pretty minor event," implying they're very surprised that the Starlink satellites couldn't handle it. So, in other news, SpaceX is still going to, the 4-ton chunk of SpaceX rocket is on a collision course with the moon, according to an online space junk tracker. Boeing has sunk $450 million into a flying taxi startup that hopes to whisk passengers across cities by the end of the decade. Okay? Taxi planes and personalized smart guns, which can be fired only by verified users, may finally become available to the United States consumers this year. In other words, your gun won't shoot unless you're the one shooting it. And scientists are embarking on a mission to unravel the mystery behind dozens of grisly child mummies that were found buried in an underground tomb in Sicily. Wow. A lot going on, guys. There's a whole lot of things happening before our very eyes. Something biblical is going on, okay? There's no question. And so when we come back, I'm going to be back at 12 noon. I've got a full list of things to talk about, including, I'm going to let you hear his own words, Mr. MBB333 explain some of the things that are going on with the sun. Also, Mr. MBB333 has already accepted an invitation to be one of our speakers in our next webinar coming up March 11 and 12 called Climate Crisis. Also, Marshall Masters has signed on, and Mike from around the world. And we're also going after a couple more big heavy hitters. So get ready for a powerful webinar on March 11th and 12th. Now, let me just say this real quick here, that in our 11 o'clock broadcast, you're going to hear 2 or 3 minutes from Mr. MBB333, and you're going to hear a 10-minute explanation of things that are happening from Marshall Masters. You don't want to miss these 2 segments coming up in our next broadcast. I'll be back with you live at 12 noon. Do you believe? I do. In the Lord Jesus Christ. He's coming. He's coming. He's coming. Old man Wrigley lived in that White House down the street where I grew up. Mama used to send me over with things. We struck a friendship up. I spent a lot of long summers out on his old porch swing. Says he was in the war and in the Navy. That's right. Lost his wife, lost his baby. Broke down and asked him one time, how'd you keep from going crazy? He said, I'll see my wife and son in just a little while. I asked him what he meant. He looked at me and he smiled, said, I raise my hands, I bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. A few years later, I was off to college, talking to my mom on the phone one night, getting all caught up on all the gossip, the ins and outs of small town life. She said, oh, by the way, son, old man Wrigley died. Later on that night, I laid there thinking back, thought about a couple long lost summers. I didn't know whether to cry or laugh, if there was ever anybody who deserved a ticket to the other side. It would be that sweet old man who looked me in the eyes, said, I raise my hands, I bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth in the words written in red. They tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. I can't quote the book, the chapter or the verse, but you can't tell me
it all ends in a slow ride in a hearse. You know I'm more and more convinced the longer that I live. Yes, it can't be, no it can't be, no it can't be all there is.
I'll raise my hands.
I bow my head. I'm finding more and more truth. The words written in red, they tell me that there's more to life than just what I can see. Oh, I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe.
I do. I believe.
I believe. Oh, I believe. I believe. I believe. I believe.
I'll be back at 12 noon, everybody, with a complete show. Full lineup of things we're going to talk about. Taking place around the world. Prophecy unfolding. Prophecy is unfolding right before our very eyes. I'll be back at 12 noon with a complete show on the coming apocalypse. That will include Mr. MBB333, a segment from him, about a 3-minute segment from him, and a 10-minute segment from Marshall Masters. Very fascinating. You don't want to miss this. I'll see you at 12 noon.